Hello and welcome to episode 25 of Saab Fever. My name's Frank, and in today's episode we've got another product review for you. This particular product is a USB charger that replaces the blank buttons down here by the gear selector and the cigarette lighter socket, and also up here by the SID. I'm quite looking forward to seeing how this performs, as unlike plug-in sockets like these, this is a fairly low profile one in particular, some of them obviously stick out further. This fully integrates into the dash, replacing the blank buttons, so it should keep the design aesthetics of the car, whilst also giving me USB charging capabilities. Now, before I go much further, this time I do of course need to give you some disclosure. I'm not associated with the Saab3DPrint guys in any way. I think I mentioned it in the last review, I purchased the cup holder that was previously installed. This is actually a review sample though. As such, it didn't come with any instructions, so I'm sure I can work it out. It can't be that difficult, surely. But just so you know, I have not purchased this. So with the camera precariously installed on the center armrest, let's see if we can get the radio out. My way of tackling that, I know it's going to sit here for a start. It needs to be powered from the back of the cigarette lighter socket. I can't see any way of doing it without taking out the aircon unit. Also, I'm not sure how much space I'll need, so I'm gonna take out the radio. I also have an additional unit designed to go up here because not only, I mean, the obvious problem is that you need a longer power cable to reach, but in looking at both of them, I didn't even realize that they seem to be different sized button blanks. They're smaller. Never realized that. You learn something every day, I suppose, don't you? So let's see if I can get this out. As usual, it's going to be a bit of a pig. There we go. That side never releases easily for some reason. Sit that down there. That out the way. Pop out the aircon unit. Now, I don't want to unplug the aircon unit because I'd need to recalibrate it. And also sometimes unplugging it can cause error code 22 to appear, which is basically a sort of a programming fault. They just don't like that. There's a certain condition, I can't remember exactly what it is. It's described in the WIS, whereby basically if the car's off for less than a certain amount of time, like 10 minutes or something, and you unplug it, it causes this error. I think it's to do with the aircon not having a chance to shut down properly. So just to avoid all of that, I'm just going to leave it plugged in and simply move it to the side. Okay, the easiest thing to do now, pop out the blank. Oh, that's that done. And let's have a look. Let's see if I can get you guys in there to have a good look. Okay, here's a close-up picture showing the back of the cigarette lighter socket. That's where we need to tap in with the spade connectors. Okay, so I think the next thing to do will be to put my button in place. There we go. I think that's going to look quite nice, isn't it? And then, I'm sorry, but I can't get the camera in there and get my hand in at the same time. So you're going to have a lovely view of my elbow while I do this. That's the power. That's the power feed disc. Oh, it's the other way around. Oh, I don't know why. I assumed the power feed had the pins sticking out. I suppose that makes sense, really, to make sure you don't cause shorts. And I've just dropped it. Okay, so this goes on that way around. So that's now stealing power from the cigarette lighter socket. Cigarette lighter socket now needs to, well, this, I should say, into the back of the cigarette lighter socket. You know, I really should stop calling it a cigarette lighter socket. I've never smoked anyway. I think that's that in. Yeah. Have a quick peek. Yes, that is in. Okay, let's find where I put my keys. There. Now, thankfully, because it's powered from the back of the cigarette lighter socket, it's only actually active when the key's in the on position. So this thing isn't going to drain your batteries when it's off. Plug in my little load tester. I'm just going to give it a quick test, make sure it is powered. Yes, it is. Good. That's all I need for now. You know, rather than just reviewing this one, probably should install the other one while I'm here, shouldn't I? Oh, what's the easiest way for me to get this out? Now, because I'm installing this one as well, now I should be able to get this out with a small flathead or something, which I don't actually have right now, but I might cheat. This car came with a... Oh dear. This car came with what I believe to be a Sony Ericsson car phone installed, which I don't want. So ultimately I'm going to take this off anyway. So this might make me get round to actually removing that. There. Yours wouldn't be as easy. Obviously whoever installed this cut a notch. Let's get rid of that. Take that off as well. Don't want. Looks like I am going to have to remove the radio cage. That's easy enough. Can I get the other side though? There. That was easy enough. With a bit of force at the back pulling forward, I was able to just unclip the two sides that hold it in place. Now again, be careful doing this because you still have all the wiring connected to the back. So yet again, I have no intention of disconnecting it. Where does that go? Down there somewhere. Now obviously, anyone watching this probably won't have to do that. So the other one goes in. Lovely. That is a very good finish. A very good colour match too, to be perfectly honest. You really wouldn't know that was aftermarket. Huh. Well done, guys. Well done. Alright. I should be able to put the radio cage back in now. I don't believe I need that out. Why does that not seem to fit anymore? It somehow got taller. No? What have I done? Oh, was it that? Was it that? Yes, it was. Right, push that back in place. There we go, that's that. Okay, that's the wiring to the other one. Let's pull out that connector I only just plugged in. I see, the whole thing hasn't come off. That's fine. Not to worry. Not to worry. Feed that under there. That can now go. Yes. That can now go in there. So in essence what we're doing, the feed wire coming from the car is being spliced off there to that one. Then another splice running here, and then finally into the back of the cigarette lighter socket. Now, if anyone's concerned about the amount of devices running off of that circuit, you really don't need to be. I'll look it up in a sec. From memory, it's something like a 20, maybe even a 30 amp socket. It's rated for a higher ampage than the one in the back that the rear passengers use. If anyone's ever installed the socket in the boot, you have to run the wiring all the way to the front and in the back here. So ultimately you're running that one and the one in the boot from the exact same circuit. So we don't, and perfectly honest, even with like a high ampage thing these days with the voltages, it's nothing to worry about at all. Right, can I get that? Actually, it might be easier if I remove that. There. I think it's just going to be easier to organise getting it all plugged in. There we go. So that goes that way around. Oh, it's a tight fit as well. Come on. Maybe a little bit more. There, I think that'll do. Alright, let's crack on. Okay, let's... Really isn't a lot of room to work here. I'm going to do most of it by feel. There we go. Quick peek. Yep, and that's that plugged in as well. Okay. Key back in ignition. Yep, that's that powered up. Make sure that one still works. Yep, and make sure my original works. Yep, right, everything's powered. Good, good. I can slot back in. Should I go? Should I go the whole hog while I'm here? No, I can't be bothered. I can't be bothered. I want to remove that telephone kit, but I can't be bothered right now. I need to concentrate on what I'm supposed to be doing. And slot the radio back in. There we go. Now I think I will just take a moment here to just consider the design aesthetics if I remove the old charger a sec. I mean, the guys have done a fantastic job of this. They integrate perfectly into the dash. You really wouldn't know that's an aftermarket edition. The colour's perfect, really. And even the shape of it. I mentioned previously this old charger that I was quite fond of. But, I mean, I was fond of it primarily because of the extremely low profile. You know, it just sits in there. One of the drawbacks of these devices, though, is the fact that although there's two sockets on the front, there's only actually one charger. So there's one charger driving two sockets, which means if you plug in two phones, that one charger is desperately trying to charge two devices. And all too often you'll get too much of a voltage drop as it tries desperately to supply the power. And then the devices, they'll flick on and off from charging. So 1 second would be, yeah, I'm charging, then no, I'm not charging, I'm charging, I'm not, I'm charging, I'm not. It was just too much for it. These, however, and I have had a little sneak peek at them already. There's two things I'd really like to highlight about them. One is each one of them contains two independent chargers. There are actually 2 independent chargers inside that one, and there's an additional 2 inside this one. So the key benefit is no matter how much power the device plugged into this one here is trying to pull, it won't affect this one. So that is a key difference straight away. Even if it wasn't for the second point I'm about to raise, that's better already than what I currently use. Now the second point, and this kind of gets complicated. The original USB spec really only called for, pretty sure it's 550 milliamps, which is slightly over half an amp. Most modern phones need a lot more than that. You know, times have moved on since the original spec was first drawn up. Now this is where it gets complicated, and there's probably not a lot the guys could do about this. Sadly, there are many different fast charging so-called standards out there. Now the guys have obviously chosen a module that does the Qualcomm QuickCharging 2 and 3 standards, which does cover a lot. I'll see if I can find a list of phones and scroll up the screen in a sec for you to see if your phone's on there. I've looked already. I have a few phones in the house that will happily properly fast charge from these. Sadly, my phone does not. My phone is an Oppo, oh god, what is it now? It's an Oppo Reno Z2 or a 2Z. I can't remember exactly what it's called. It's quite a nice phone. I'm quite happy with it. Sadly, Oppo and a bunch of other Chinese companies have taken a different route for their fast charging system. A lot of the fast chargers, they communicate with the charger, and rather than trying to increase the ampage that they push down the wire, which is where you get, you know, heat building up from resistance and everything, what they do is they actually increase the voltage. I think there's some systems out there that go all the way up to about, like, I'm sure there's like 9 volt I've seen on one of them, possibly up to 12. And that's their way of getting more power through the cable. Oppo's system uses a system I think it was Oppo that developed it, called VOOC, but I believe there's a bunch of other companies from China have also gone down that route as well. I think Xiaomi is one of them, but I'm not entirely sure. You may want to check your you may want to check what your phone supports. These do not support the VOOC standard, but I mean, that's quite understandable. I think it's relatively new. Might not be all that common in the West either, until we all start buying more Chinese phones. So anyway, just to demonstrate a point, I have here a USB voltage and ampage meter. For ease of use, so I can hold it up to the camera and show you, I've got it connected to a USB extension lead. I'm going to plug that extension lead into the old charger, other way around apparently, and once it stabilizes, you can see a voltage of 5.2 volts and 0 ampage, which is what you'd expect really. I have here a Samsung Galaxy 7 Edge. I'm going to plug it in. Okay, it says it's charging. That's always a good sign. And if I hold that up, there we go. So you can see it's pulling 870 milliamps, and the voltage has dropped down to 4.8 volts. And the phone reports that it's charging. So that is basically what you would expect from a proper old-timey charger. If I now, so the phone's still plugged in here. I'm just going to move that there. Give it a sec to stabilize, and you should see, although the ampage has dropped slightly, the voltage has increased significantly. This is to be expected. and the phone now reports fast charging. Good. So what this is showing us is that this Samsung Galaxy 7 Edge supports faster. I don't particularly know offhand if it's a Qualcomm's QuickCharge 2 or 3. It supports one of them though, I can tell it does. So this phone will now charge quickly, and that's fantastic. Not only will this phone charge quickly from this port here is completely unaffected. So another quick charging phone could be plugged in here. So that's the S7 Edge. I now have, and for my next test, you can actually see the voltage ramping up as it communicates back with the charger. This is something else. I'll be honest, I don't entirely know what this is. I know it's a Samsung Galaxy S. I don't know if it's an 8 or a 9 though. But you can see that it's communicated back with the charger. The voltage has gone right up and the ampage is even lower. See if I can show you that. Right. I think I know why the ampage is lower. It's fully charged already. But nonetheless, that proves a point. Now for another test is to plug in the Oppo, which is currently recording this, so it's using a fair bit of power probably. And as if to prove my point, it looks like the Oppo, because the new charger doesn't support the Oppo's quick charging system, it's basically charging according to pretty much the original USB spec, really. So it is charging it, but only by the original spec, not by what either this charger or this phone is capable of. The sad thing is, as I said, there are a number of quick charging systems out there. You can't expect a charger to support all of them. It's probably fair to say Qualcomm's QuickCharge is, without a doubt, the most popular probably. It's supported by the most types of phones. Well, that just about wraps up the main part of the review. But before I finish, I would like to highlight what I was talking about earlier about the fast charging standards. I found this website here which goes into a nice bit of detail highlighting the different types. Just talks about, like here we are. This is what I was talking about, the very early standards, the ones that were released decades ago. They did 5 volts at about half an amp. Not a great amount of power. It was fine back in the day, but obviously, as I said, times have moved on and we need higher power chargers these days. Sadly, obviously, all the different companies of the world have all run off in different directions. As I said earlier, Qualcomm QuickCharge version 2 and 3 is fully supported by these new modules. They're also backwards compatible to Qualcomm QuickCharge version 1. So in essence, you have version 1, 2 and 3 support. Sadly, it leaves us a little short on some of the other standards that are out there in the world. But like I said, I mean, you can't support them all. No, probably not anyway, not with one charger. One thing I didn't realise before though was that some of the other standards, such as the Samsung one here, is actually compatible with Qualcomm QuickCharge 2, and so is MediaTek's Pump Express 3 and 2. So really, these are compatible with anything that has Qualcomm Quick Charging, Samsung's Adaptive Fast Charging, or MediaTek's Pump Express. That probably covers a large amount of devices on the market right now. Down here it goes into a bit more detail about exactly what happens when the devices do their quick charging. With the Qualcomm's quick charging, it's mostly a case of upping the voltage rather than the amps. I mean, the amps do increase as well in various versions of the standard, but it's actually mostly about increasing the voltage. And one of the reasons it's not there's a Samsung one, again telling us it's compatible. Oh, I must have missed that one. Motorola's Turbo Power is also compatible with Qualcomm QuickCharge 2. So again, if you've got a Motorola phone with Motorola Turbo Power in it, again, these chargers will also support that. There's MediaTek's. Yeah, again, it's compatible. I mean, really, I think the only ones... Oh, there's Huawei's Supercharge and Supercharge 2. Also compatible with Qualcomm QuickCharge. I didn't realise that. Obviously, the Oppo one isn't compatible. They've gone a very different method. They keep the voltage the same at 5 volts, but massively crank up the ampage. So, sadly, phones, OnePluses and Oppos won't benefit from this. That mostly covers it. At the point of recording this voiceover, the charger's been in the car for a little while now, good few days, and I've got to admit, it looks fantastic. It really does. I mentioned it before how it keeps the design aesthetics of the car. I'm not sure. I've spoken to the guys at Saab3DPrint. Obviously, they are selling them individually. My main question was, are these being sold as a pair or individually? I'm not 100% sure if I was buying one individually, which one I'd go for. Would I go for the one down near the cigarette lighter socket, where you would, I'm so used to plugging a phone in that general area. It's also handy for the passenger as well. Or would I go for the other one with the longer cable and a different sized button up behind the steering wheel? My gut reaction is to go for the one down by the cigarette lighter socket. That's where I'm, as I said, very used to plugging in devices, and it's also handy for the passenger. But given where the high level one is, and the fact that I can plug in my phone with a very short cable, and the cabling for it, at least where I have the phone mounted to a windscreen holder, is practically invisible to the driver. The problem is having the charger circuit closer to the steering wheel makes it less useful to a passenger that's in the car. But I've got to admit, it's something I hadn't considered before, and it is actually very nice to have a phone mounted there with no really, at least when driving, it's hidden behind the steering wheel, no obvious kind of sign of cables dangling or being stretched across the radio or the SID display or anything. Having both definitely has its benefits, and it's a benefit I hadn't actually considered until I've been driving around with it in the car for a day or two already. But anyway, I think I'm done now. I think I've said everything I need to say. As always, thanks for watching.